So the sounds there were amplified body signals and sounds, brain waves, heartbeat, blood flow and muscle signals. So the body's able to compose the sounds by exerting a certain control over its physiology, by controlling its breathing, by relaxing. Of course, the body also fatigues over the duration of the performance, and consequently that also alters the sounds. So here the laser beams, which are directed from the eyes using optic fibre cable, are modulated with the heartbeat sound. So they're going on and off, boom, 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 boom. And the light installation is flickering and flaring to the brainwave signals and the muscle signals. As well as attaching technology to the body, this project was one in which technology was inserted inside the body. So instead of a work of art in a public space, here a work of art is designed for the inside of the body. With the help of an endoscopist, we inserted the sculpture about 30 centimetres into the stomach cavity. This is not a medical instrument. It was a sculpture that opened and closed, extended and retracted, had a flashing light and a beeping sound. So you have to imagine this as a simple machine choreography that occurs inside the body. The body becomes a host for a work of art. The body is no longer simply a site for the psyche, but rather simply a site for a sculpture. It took 2 days and 6 insertions to shoot about 15 minutes of video. So this was quite a difficult performance, and probably was the most difficult physically to realise, because not only had you to put up with the sort of external pain, but also the gagging reflex and the fact that you felt ill, so you couldn't sort of control what was happening inside your body, and you can see how uncomfortable it was. Of course, I was fully awake and directing the video documentation, but it was quite an uncomfortable project. The sculpture, the flashing light, the beeping sound, a clean shot of the inside of my stomach. And so this obsolete body that's been invaded by technology in these next performances performs involuntarily. Using this muscle stimulation system, the blue electrode areas indicate which muscles are stimulated. It was possible to computer control a part of the body. So my left arm is not under my control. The left arm is computer controlled with a muscle stimulation system, whilst the right arm is extended to primate proportions with a mechanical manipulator. This performance was video streamed, and so the body performed not only with its shadow, not only with its video images, but with the internet site that it was streaming to. We had constructed a VRML model, a 3D model of the mechanical arm, which mimicked the movements of the actual mechanism. And this performance was for 4 hours continuously. Sound, please. So the sound that you're hearing there is generated not from any internal body signals, but rather by sensors on the arms. So flexion sensors, proximity sensors, position orientation sensors. So it was the sort of limb choreography that was generating the sound in this performance. It didn't take much to imagine that you might be able to remote control the body. We developed a touchscreen interface by touching the muscles on the computer screen. The computer model would perform what you have just programmed, and a second later in Luxembourg my body moved accordingly. So people in the Pompidou Centre in Paris, the Media Lab in Helsinki, the Doors of Perception conference in Amsterdam, for example, were able to remotely control my body in Luxembourg. So this was a kind of split body experience. A half of the body was activated by people in other places. The other half of the body was controlling a third hand. Voltage in, voltage out. I also had a head-up display which enabled me to see the face of the person who was moving me. And coincidentally, several weeks later when I was in Paris, I met some of these people who were remotely activating my body. It was very easy to spot the malicious agents, because people who would program the same movement over and over again were obviously trying to test the system and obviously also fatiguing me unnecessarily. Another kind of split body experience, in this case an upper body exoskeleton, and this upper body exoskeleton had only 3 degrees of freedom, up, out and with a bend. But if you imagine this happening simultaneously with both arms, 64 possible simple combinations and choreography can occur. But what was interesting about this interface was that we had constructed an avatar imbued with genetic algorithms whose behavior altered for the duration of the performance. And it was the avatar that was activating the upper part of the body, whilst the lower part of the body was free to move with its own agency. So the body here partly becomes a prosthesis in itself, enabling the behaviour of an artificial entity in the real world. So this is both a possessed and performing body, partly possessed by other people, partly performing with its own intuition and agency. I've always been interested in animal and insect-like locomotion, and in 1997 with F-18 in Hamburg we constructed a 6-legged walking robot that was strong enough to hold a human body, and this robot was able to be controlled by making different arm gestures. So you could control the leg movements by making arm gestures. The robot could move forwards, backwards, sideways, left and right. It could sit, it could stand, and it could turn on the spot. It was a jerky and rather powerful robot. It's also the first performance I did with my clothes on. And the reason for this is when I first got onto the robot was hitting the concrete so hard that the shock waves coming through my body I just was not able to stand on the robot. It might look smooth on the video, but it was actually quite a jerky experience. And I realised the only way I could stand on the robot was to wear shockproof boots.